The latest secret diplomatic documents to be released on the website Wikileaks shed new light on the relationship between the Anglican and Roman Catholic churches. They show that Britain's ambassador to the Vatican was worried about an offer by the Pope to disaffected Anglicans and warned it could lead to violence against Catholics in Britain.
In November last year, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Rowan Williams, met Pope Benedict in Rome. The meeting took place soon after the Pope had announced a special provision for disaffected Anglicans who wanted to convert en masse to Catholicism. According to an American diplomatic cable, the British ambassador said the meeting had come at an awkward time and that Anglican-Vatican relations were facing their worst crisis in 150 years as a result of the Pope's decision. The ambassador said although the Pope's offer had been aimed primarily at Anglicans in America and Australia, it had put the Archbishop of Canterbury in an impossible situation. The cable says the ambassador felt the crisis was worrisome for the Catholic community in the UK. The outcome, he said, could be discrimination, or in isolated cases, even violence against Catholics. Furthermore, it seemed that this might cast a pall over the Pope's visit to Britain. However, the visit was generally regarded as a success when it went ahead 3 months ago. Peter Biles, BBC News.
Well, let's talk to Austen Ivereigh from Catholic Voices, a group which represents Catholics. He joins us from our Westminster studio. When you read this morning, did this sentiment ring true with you?
Well, the quote attributed to Francis Campbell, the UK's ambassador to the Holy See, that the Pope's offer would in some way lead to violence against Catholics. As soon as I read that, I knew it wasn't true, and I'm confident that it isn't, because I know Francis, spoke to him at the time, know his views. There's simply no way that he would have said that. What I think has happened here, and you've got to remember that this is, and the whole problem with WikiLeaks is that these are snatches of conversations cobbled together, put in as quotes in these reports then sent to Washington by diplomats, in this case in Rome. And in fact, I can just see probably that there was a context here where they were talking about the tradition of the position of Catholics in England, where many centuries ago they may have been subject to discrimination and violence, and giving some of the background, and then that's been misheard and cobbled together in this way. I am certain that he didn't say that. I'm sure that he probably did talk about the tensions between the two churches that would have resulted from that, absolutely, but not this lurid violence, or indeed the idea that this represents the lowest point in 150 years in the relations between the two churches. I'm confident he didn't say that.
Yeah, the language does seem to come from the sort of Middle Ages, doesn't it, really, or from Tudor times, certainly, anyway. I just wonder, though, how difficult a position this did place Rowan Williams in. He's said, or he's quoted as saying, that he was put in an impossible situation. I mean, he was very taken aback by this, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think there's no question about that. We knew that at the time, and I think he made that quite clear too. Remember that this was a global initiative by the Vatican, aimed at not primarily actually even at British Anglicans, but rather Australians and Americans, groups of Anglicans around the world who had asked the Vatican for a special structure by which they might become Catholics while retaining some of their traditions. And of course, as often, you know, it's a Vatican initiative which cannot take into account all the individual circumstances, cannot keep everybody informed, and indeed I think it did take the Archbishop of Canterbury by surprise. But he has since said, and it's very important, that this has not led actually to any crisis in relations between the two churches. And the Archbishop of Canterbury himself said just a few weeks ago on Vatican Radio when he was in Rome that actually this scheme, the so-called Ordinariat, will actually help Anglicans and Catholics deepen relations, deepen their understanding of each other, will lead to a mutual sharing of gifts, which in the long term will assist relations between the two churches.
What struck me as fascinating was just seeing how central the Pope was, or appears to be in these other WikiLeaks cables that have emerged, to Vatican diplomacy. The fact that the Pope seemed central to the release of the 15 British sailors who were held by Iran. It was him who refused to allow officials to testify before the Irish Commission investigating the abuse of children.
Yeah, again, I think, you know, you've got to look at these are often minor officials in embassies in Rome, you know, going to drinks parties, picking up this, that and the other thing and putting them together. And often what happens is things are attributed to the Pope, which really are the result of Vatican officials, curial officials working together. But actually in practice it's impossible to separate, you know, the Pope from the Curia. What I think this does show is what a significant player the Vatican is worldwide. One of the revelations in The Guardian today is that, well, I knew this, various people knew knew this, but I don't think it's been made public before, that in 2007 the Vatican assisted the UK in securing the release of 15 British hostages in Iran. Because the UK didn't have relations with Iran, they depended on those links that the Vatican had. Just a small glimpse, an example of how important the Vatican worldwide diplomatic network is to countries like Britain and how they cooperate and work together. I think that really is one thing that comes across very strongly from these revelations.
If you knew that 3 years ago, I wish you'd told us at the time.
I didn't know it 3 years ago. But I did find it out recently. In fact, during the papal visit, I mentioned it and spoke about it. But, you know, the cable itself says that this is, by the way, a diplomat in Rome, a US diplomat, looking back on that, advising President Obama and saying, actually, we don't know how crucial the Vatican's intervention was to the release of those hostages. We know that they helped. So, you know, I don't know exactly how crucial it was either. But it is a glimpse into just how significant the relations are and how important the Vatican is on the world stage.
Austen, Ivereigh, thank you very much for talking to us this morning. 11:28.